Hi everyone. Thanks for being here. It's my second time to be at a devfest event, and it's really nice to see some familiar faces and we haven't seen before. So let's kick it off. So today we're going to talk about large language models, construction industry, and science education. And I'm going to actually ask each of us to introduce ourselves. I'll start. So my name is Adeline. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Innovation. And what my company, what our startup is actually about is that we are an agency that upskills and implements AI in the architecture, construction, and engineering industry. And it's something that it really is our mission statement. And this leads into all sorts of questions like, what is the right time for certain companies to implement AI? What's the ROI? And also, what does it mean for design education? So we care a lot about those things. So I'm going to hand it to Anne to introduce yourself.
Okay, good afternoon. So my name is Anne, and the partner of Adeline. So actually, already introduced by Adeline, that our company is focusing on the industry for enterprise AI transformation, and also we focusing a lot on education field as well. We try to understand how AI is going to bring the impact to the new generations. So Dr. Kusoni here, he's the academic expert.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. My name is Emmanuele C. I'm from Italy. And I'm a linguist and a cognitive scientist by background, but I use LLMs for my research, and I'm currently teaching computational linguistics as assistant professor at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. And since we have a common interest in the domain adaptation of language models to specialized domains, in this case, the domain of architecture, I also collaborate with innovation as an honorary advisor. Okay. Yeah, here we are among Google developers, so I don't need to explain why AI is a matter now, but actually more and more people, even outside the AI field, are realizing how important it is to have AI knowledge nowadays. This is just a plot showing the trends of the mentions of AI skills in the US job market in the years between 2019 and 2024. So all the jobs will require to pick up data science and AI-related skills in the near future. My apologies if some of the knowledge is a bit trivial for you, but we should lay a common ground for the discussion. So the AI that we're talking nowadays is generative artificial intelligence, a type of AI that is capable of generating new content such as text, images, videos, audio, and code in response to prompts and input of the users. And the type of model that everyone is talking about nowadays is the large language models. Large language models actually, they're not a totally new idea, but they gain international spotlight since the release of the ChatGPT chatbot in November 2022. And nowadays, we have multiple LLMs available at the commercial for open licenses such as Llama, Speak2, and of course, we also have Gemini. So as I said, in computational linguistics, language models are a traditional idea because the idea has always been, given a context, given a prefix, predict the word that is coming next. And nowadays we have the technology for collecting a very large amount of electronic text on the internet and train a model to predict upcoming words, with the goal of learning probabilities of word sequences and be able to predict the next word. So many people are talking about this because it sounds like that the mastery of human language is really the key to reach intelligence, to reach AGI. This has always been the core of the concept of language models, and what the recent language models are having the equation is the second L in the algorithm, the fact that they are very large. We have observed a massive increase of performance with the parameter and the data size, and this is why now there is a big race to GPUs involving big companies around the world, because of course the biggest LLMs can be trained on the local machines. And the next steps was obviously the step of multimodal language models, because the feature of human intelligence is to make associations within and between different information sources. So multimodal large language models, like LLMs, we define language models that are trained simultaneously on text and at least another modality, such as images, speech, or videos. And how do we work with these LLMs? The different strategies, as you know, adopted by researchers and practitioners, ranging from prompt engineering to fine-tuning and retrieval augmented generation. I would say that the main difference in the choice is driven by how specific is the knowledge that you need in order to solve the task. Prompt engineering, of course, are the instructions that are provided by the users the model in order to carry out the task. We distinguish between different types of prompts, for example, zero shot, one shot, two shot, depending on how many examples we are providing to the machine, and even more sophisticated strategies like chain of thought. So, giving instruction to a model and get good results can be challenging, and this is why prompt engineering has developed as an autonomous discipline. There are basic principles to be followed, like be precise, be concise, but there are also many excellent guides that go more in depth and investigate what kind of words need to be used. Recently, there are also some studies that also give instruction about the expression of belief of the user or the modality that the user has to adopt when talking to a model. For example, I think some studies recently found that if you give order and if you are rude to a language model, you get even better results. And then we have strategies for the time when you need more specific knowledge. For example, fine-tuning and retrieval augmented generation, because sometimes the training on internet text is not sufficient, and for supporting a specific professional role, you need a very specific knowledge. You need a model to work as a specialist. These two possible strategies, when I talk about them to my students, I like to compare them respectively to the closed book test setting for fine-tuning and the open book test setting for the retrieval augmented generation. So in the closed book setting, what I do when I prepare my exams is to give a lot of the examples to my students for the type of exercises that they will find in the assignment. And I hope that they will be able to prepare themselves on these examples and in the end carry out the task when they find the unseen test, the unseen assignment at the end of the course. The open book kind of setting is when I tell the students, okay, you're feel free to consult my slides. So if you attended the class, hopefully you know where to find the answer for my questions. So when I ask you something, feel free to query the materials and to get the information you needed to give me a response. So fine-tuning is the setting that I compare to the closed book. Is when we provide a model with many instruction examples to carry out the task together with the desired outputs. And the instructions can also be personalized datasets. So I can imagine, for example, an architect that would like to generate floor plans with Midjourney. So the instructions in this case can be the type of output that the architect wants to have, and then the type of prompt that needs to be given to Midjourney in order to generate that type of output. For RAG, we have a case in which a model that needs to query the information contained in a vector database. So let's imagine that an architect wants to do something, he describes the project, but also wants to retrieve the relevant regulation for the project. And generally, it will be a very long document with a lot of legal constraints to be investigated. So in RAG, the typical setting is that you have a vector database that contains the relevant knowledge. You formulate a query in input to a language model. That query is encoded as a vector. Then you retrieve the vectors in the database, probably by a similarity function. and the relevant documents will be provided as the relevant knowledge for the model to give a more informed answer. So we said with LLMs, a lot of language models can be absorbed simply by the task of network predictions over millions and millions of sentences. And models have achieved an impressive level of linguistic efficiency nowadays. So ChatGPT also for this reason managed to stimulate the interest of so many users thanks to the striking naturalness in conversation. One of the big questions is whether LLMs can generate novel concepts and ideas beyond what they have already seen during their training. And this is the big question of machine creativity, whether machines can be creative or not. As you can understand, this is not just a rhetorical or speculative question because it has potentially a very big impact on the creative jobs market. So, British philosopher Margaret Borden studied a lot of the types of creativity that we can expect in the output of a machine, and she presented this theoretical distinction between combinatorial, exploratory, and transformational creativity. In particular, when we talk about the outputs of the AI nowadays, we focus on the first component. Theorists agree that the type of creativity that we have in LLM outputs is a combinatorial creativity, meaning something combining familiar elements to create something not familiar. And another distinction made by Borden is between creativity, which involves a surprising, valuable idea expressed in an output that is new to the person who comes up with it. And the age creativity, which relates to the ideas that no one has ever had before in history. This is an important distinction, I believe, because when we create products for consumers, when we generate a new project in architecture, probably the first type of creativity is all that is needed. So these are our questions. To what extent can LLMs generate novel concepts and ideas in the domain of architecture, and what is their impact on existing business models? Does architectural design mainly require the combinatorial level of creativity, and if yes, then machine creativity can take over to a certain extent? For example, generative AI provides massive libraries of design choices, almost all the design choices that have ever been made, as a new tool for designers that are open to experiment with AI-based design. But for introducing the possible strategies, the possible ways to do so, I leave the floor to my colleagues.
Thank you, Dr. Masoni. So now we're going to talk about how all that's going to be relevant to real-world application. So we're going to go into a couple of different aspects. Is AI ready to be actually implemented into the markets? This is some of our research to look at how ready is AI at every different aspects in, let's say, taking our industry, architecture, engineering, construction, we can break it down to development, planning and design, quality, BOQ, facility management, etc., marketing. So each of that, we identify the existing, whether or not it's off-the-shelf service or a customized solution that can be done in the lab, which items are ready and which are not. And this is because in the real world, in the business world, of course, the client, whether the developer or contractor, they want to know, is this now the time? It's timing. Should they invest now or should they invest later? So this is jumping right into what is in the real market. So this is some government policy, as just to refer to their attitude right now in AI implementation. They are now thinking about getting a whole AI system platform for the construction industry. And the reason why I put this up to start talking big is because a lot of the the consumers or the clients, they will ask where to start. And this is the FAQ. And if you're in AI consultancy or AI, any kind of AI business, and you're trying to serve a client or a user, this is some of the things they will ask. What about the hardware and data security? What is the cost in terms of time and money? How should we start implementing AI? So Anne will be talking a little bit more about the ROI, but these are the three main questions being asked. And we often refer to these questions for the first one about hardware and data security. Of course, the private servers must be available. And in terms of cost and time, meaning, it's not just the time to create a POC or an MVP, it's also time to train their staff and then time for change management. And then we also lay out, this is actually the core business of ours. When we are helping clients to implement AI, the first step is the readiness assessment and implementation roadmap, policy audits, quick win, and training and change management. And we also reference the fintech industry as well as maybe also for the legal companies right now, how they are slowly adopting AI. And this is the hype cycle, and we want to refer to this as well because there's just so much expectation in AI that when people start to use it, maybe the AI is hallucinating, or maybe it's not up to the expectation. There's a certain disappointment when it comes to helping others implement AI. And this is also to explain a bit about the industry. Like this is our topics about large language models, design, construction industry, and then design education. So this is really kind of the distillation of what we've been through in the past few years in terms of people coming to us and asking us whether or not they should use something off the shelf or should they actually get customized solutions that fits like a glove. And I always tell them refer to the dollar signs that you have, and then also what kind of data security that you are requiring for. And very often for each of the MVP to be produced, it sometimes takes up to 12 months. And this is actually not because of our colleagues in the lab, their speed of working. It's because of the back and forth and the education of the clients that actually takes huge amounts of time. That, and also they have their own, very often, especially if you're B2G or B2B, it's the bureaucracy that you have to go through. You have to do the HR. But I don't know if that's a very sexy talk, so maybe I'll show you more about our case menu. And this is actually a whole suite of solutions that actually already tackled the construction industry. The thing is, this is about trying to sell mature product in an immature market. So I don't know if other industries are also facing similar bottlenecks, but this is just to share with you that, for example, architects now are engineers, and I can say that because both me and Anne are licensed architects, and we have been in this industry for over 10 years. We know how much time and effort and resource needs to be spent on producing a 3D model, and it's actually capable now for a customer solution to be made to generate an entire building room by room. Code compliance is available, but the market may or may not be receptive to it. And if you want to know more about it, feel free to contact me later and I can tell you more. But anyway, this menu was just showing all the possibilities, and I now pass to Anne to explain about the ROI calculator.
Okay, thanks, Adeline. So I guess when Adeline presenting, you can still feel that the struggling of how AI consulting firm is trying to bridging the gap between the AI circle that everyone is being so excited about breakthroughs and the real industry that we are facing right now, which is the construction industry. I guess the majority of you is not coming from the construction industry, so a little bit background sharing. Construction industry is a very well established industry with a lot of hidden rules. So that means that it would be very difficult with technology to get into this industry. And right now, we are positioning ourselves as the AI consulting firm, trying to help the construction industry firms to do their AI transformation, to boosting their efficiency, to help them level up, which supposedly will, of course, happen in the 20 years' time. But at the current stage, we are really very hard to bridge the gap between how we feel so excited about AI and how the industry is waiting, it's dragging their budget, is so hesitated about paying for the AI solutions. And we have to say that we already trying to find a direction that boosting the confidence for them to building their AI transformation. The tool you see at here, the ROI, is very important. We are trying to help you or clients establishing their confidence about AI investment by explaining that ROI is not just hard ROI, that you can directly do the calculation in one Excel sheet, and then you will find out how many you can benefit the whole year from the investment of AI. There will be long-term ROI, like the soft ROI. You need to do some estimations or testing of how the bid renewal rate can raise when you adopt AI. And also there is an implicit ROI. When your peers, when your competitors adopted AI, what would be the change of the market share of the whole industry? That could happen. What if you are the first one and then you establish branding? Will that bring you more shares from the market? So that's something they really feel touched. And at here, they also different from the software development or the internet companies. The AI implementation in all these construction firms will always come in stage. They will not do it directly, like target to and the 100% employees is using it. So there will be different scenarios of how different departments applying AI. The ROI could be different coming from different departments, and then as well as only 10% of the employees is using AI. What does that mean? What was the comparison between 50% of the employees using AI? And also at here, some tools that we try to boost their confidence. You can see this is the daily life of consulting firms. And also we are helping our partners in mainland China. They are so brilliant in doing these innovative solutions in this immature market. So they are also needing our help to go overseas to trying to get their solutions being settled down, find the pilot projects for them. And here, it's actually not sexy at all. This is what the industry is telling us what they need. First of all, they want AI to help them deal with documents. There are so many documents, reports coming from the construction side, coming from the stakeholders of the whole industry. What they need is that they want AI to help them comparing the difference between the documents, different versions of the contract, as well as draft some tenders directly using AI instead of relying on their 10-year seniors to doing the tender documents. So this is some demos that we can show with AI document intelligence comparison. I'm going to flip around very quickly of these slides. So this is about, we have a knowledge base, understanding why a certain type of the contract need to be very careful. There would be many pitfalls in sending contract or writing the bidding documents without some certain clause. So this is based on the knowledge base, give some advice on whether you are submitting a high-risk bidding document. And this one is help you to draft the tender documents directly. So these all are very mature solutions without clients looking for them. So it's actually not without, it's like clients is looking for them and then they never heard about such solutions because these are all customized solutions instead of the tools that you can search on the internet. And here also not something very sexy, payment assessments. They used to sending people go to on-site to see the construction process, and then right now they can use a drawing to inspect. And also, again, the construction industry is following a lot of rules, including audience and compliance. So this is some document helping architect to check if the drawings is violating some regulations or violating some audits. And also, in construction industry, before AI, we have already experienced the digital transformation with BIM, building information modeling. So this is the time that we are trying to integrate the two technologies together. This is the type of stack that they are looking for. And once we can build something in the BIM system, and then AI can directly assessing whether all the audience or regulations are complex or not. And also, they even want the AI to help them generate the video. the modeling, and as well as tracking the estimated cost of the whole model, which is very challenging, but we still have the face index coming into a mature system in the coming year. Yeah, this is how the construction industry to estimate the cost and to monitoring the construction process. Very practical, all these solutions. Not as interesting as what we can see in designing. So now it's the design part.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we are considering now as well is what happened to the design education. Because if you take a look at this, the architects I've plugged in and went to school to learn how to become an architect, and of course one of the things that an architect would do is to draw plans, right? But what if an AI now or this machine learning solution can actually generate so many different kinds of iterations now by populating the floor plan, by understanding the building codes. What does that even mean anymore, right? So I'm just also flashing through these just to explain to you that this is a massive change in the industry, actually, in our industry, and how that actually shifts with the time saved and what that really means. And of course, there are all those, doesn't need to be customized solution. There are the off-the-shelf solution now that can provide all kinds of automation and even agentic solutions now. So once someone actually applies to use these kinds of solutions, these kinds of tools, their time and cost, the cost to spend on man hours, let's say, it's heavily reduced. Okay, but they may not be able to catch up with the may not be wanting to invest in the change management. So this is one of the videos creations that we've done for one of our clients, and this is purely AI generated, and this is an interior walkthrough. And because our team is a team of designers, so we're able to understand, bridge how to actually apply AI into creating something that is actually now close to marketing, which I think because the product of a architectural design or concept actually is a visual graphic, right? And it's same as marketing. That's why I can see also the bridge and the market potential in there. Speaking of market potential, actually any kind of innovation I can see now, it is not about who is being the most, who's being defining the most innovative technology. I don't think that's the case after 2 years of navigating. I think it is the case of finding the right kind of business model in the in innovation and how it can be provided to an existing system. So anyway, that's just a personal insight. So these are more mature walkthroughs. We also now utilizing like what Dr. Trisoni said at the very beginning, finding the right prompts and finding the right kind of understanding and terminology and combined with creativity. And of course, this is now a very saturated process as well, because everyone now can go into Nano Banana or Gemini, of course, and then to also generate these. And for these ones, I think for architects and for designers, it is, this is a superpower. It is the superpower as well as what's happening in the market right now is getting extremely competitive. And especially for those who have not yet picked this up, it is also almost dangerous, as you can imagine. And I don't know if you guys have tried this before, but you can also ask Nano Banana to, give you a clean isometric rendering, and then when you input into a 3D software, you can also have the 3D. So this is the summary. When we talk about design education, what this happens is that in the past you have to learn several different skill sets, like 3D modeling, 2D rendering, and then you have to learn how to create different iterations of a concept design. But now it could be, you can actually be able to do different iterations within a day. And in practice, this is also how you're able to potentially profit more when you're in a consultancy. So, speaking of education, this is what we do now, also with training. And, we also break it down, this landscape. We really look into what can be used right now in AI for design and construction. And then we bring it down to, it could be text to image, schematic design, final rendering, AI generated floor plans, parametric and generation with generative design with AI, BIM, and project metrics. We break it down to different types. And this is what we're serving. And this is about our company. We do training, consultation, regional agency, creative services. And what the three of us are doing right now is we're fine-tuning the first large language model for Hong Kong architecture codes. And we will open source it and it will be on GitHub. So that's kind of what we're doing. So our extended team is in Shanghai. They're in lab in Shanghai University. So actually, this is a discussion where I asked Anne, can you tell us your concept of how should the design education change now with AI education?
I have to say, of course, AI in education, like the impact of education is a very controversial topic. And also, I would believe it's a challenge not only for the new generation, but also for the professors and teachers that who is going to having the skill to telling the difference of whether the student is using AI 100% or using AI 80% or using AI 90% or not using AI at all. Of course, it would be very difficult for all the professors to understand the difference, like how AI do the generation and how manually they do the renderings to compare. It would be very difficult to tell the difference when you're only looking at the output. But I guess they can have as we were all in the studios, in those design studios, or tutors like guiding us all through along the way. And during the whole class, I believe the professor, the tutors, they can tell the difference, how the student is totally relying on AI or not. But actually, I also raised a question that last week I was discussing the topic with a lawyer. The lawyer said that probably the current days, all the new generation, they would prefer like only relying on AI to do all the research instead of going back to library, because for the lawyers, they were relying on the library. In the library, there were several processes. That was called the metacognition. Like they need to know when you're looking for a certain clause and then you find, oh, that doesn't work. Which direction I should turn? Which direction they should turn is the metacognitive capability that they perceive when they dive in so many hours in library. And for architects, designers, when we doing some design and then at a certain moment we find, oh, it doesn't make sense, which direction we should turn is the moment that we learn after suffering so many hundreds or thousands of hours building models, making the physical models, drawings, results, and etc. to perceive that capability. So we really doubt if the new generation is going to possess that capability again in their field, in their career path development. So we all arriving this thought that maybe all these new generations, actually they are going to do the repetitive works instead of the creative works. The repetitive works means they are working together with AI, asking AI to do the creative part. So that will be a rising concern. But my personal question would be, if in the future the market, they say yes to all this repetitive outcome from AI, what would that be the scenario? I would say that would be a more challenging thing instead of the professors pushing the students to think on themselves, asking them not to use AI. So it's really relying on the market attitude, whether they would like to accept the AI output, the AI design, or they would prefer the human design. And can market tell the difference? I would say that it's going to be a question mark for the coming 10 years.
Thank you, Anne. And I think time's up. So thank you so much.
I have a question. Maybe I picked this up wrong, but you had one slide that shows the snake savings is using different technologies in the design process. And I was very surprised that very lot of us in the parking space is only like 80% shading. And compared to floor layout, it seems to be such a trivial task. Why is the shading for parking spaces so little compared to a much more complex floor plan of the space?
I see what you mean. Like you are wondering why automating the parking space design is less less ROI in that.
Yeah. Like,
Because actually more time is spent doing a floor plan manually than parking spot. So when both are automated, then in comparison, the percentage of the not the profit, but the percentage of the advancement is it's as such. Good observation.
Hey, C, and thanks for the presentation. Question to, sorry, I don't know, sorry. And love your point about the future between work, essentially are we going to be a robot and let the robot do creative work for us or not? Question one is what's your stance on that? Question two is, are there any thinking about how we will design an incentive system, assuming we all want to do it ourselves?
Let's see. Okay, the first question. Yeah, I know. I'm going to make this short. So first of all, I cannot position myself as the observer of the problem instead of saying this is the wrong way and that is the wrong way. So I would be very curious to see what would the market validation of the AI design in the future, like when all this new generation is relying so heavily on AI and then they get into their position, they become architect. What would be the output being accepted by their clients, or what would be the attitude of their clients? So this is the first thing. I wouldn't say it's totally wrong that we are going to build so many AI design buildings in the future. What if the clients has their stance, has their concerns about it's going to be so efficient, and then I actually think the AI design is certainly on a higher level compared to my traditional design consultants. That could be something we need to alternate market from the client. So this is the first question, and then secondly, sorry, what was the second question?
I don't know if the second question matters. Sorry, sorry guys. Let me reframe. So, I want to, I look at it through PS of it, right? So, whatever, actually, the job done. So, whatever the best and cheapest in the process. And that is a natural consent for me to say, use machine, like hire like 5 analysts to do like basic stuff. That's it. Right? And my business will still run fine. Right? If that's the premise, then those 5 analysts would never become architects or experienced designers.
Exactly.
That's a fully sad future in my point of view.
Yes, that's actually already happened.
And if I would take one step back and say, hey, by the time I be hired, I need someone to take over the business, but they're not ready because they're using AI. I've been using AI and they're using AI. Shit. So if we kind of like go down that path, like what kind of incentive system and education we should put in place to.
I have to say, well, I cannot believe there will be a huge gap between humans in the future. Like some of the humans, they're really augmented by AI. They still trying to go through their inner challenge to become a very mature thinker. And then they can use AI in a mature way. Well, all the others, they probably, because of we were at school very old time, the challenge is not only inner but also outsider. When we can't come out the design, then that means we can't come out. So anyway, we have to struggle to come out the design ourselves. That's the outsider challenge, which AI have already eliminated that part. That means all the challenge is becoming lying in the inner side of the designers. There will of course be 10% of the human, they still willing to or even enjoy the struggling process to boosting their mental power to go through the process, and then they are going to be the one master AI as well as master how to utilize it. Employees relying on AI. Yeah. So that's my thought. So even in the future, like you are the one augmented by AI, and then your employee, they are just using AI. you will find someone to pass the business on who like you, who exactly like you, who have the strong mental power to go through the whole process themselves. So I believe
I see choice.
I think you have a choice. Of course, you will always have a choice. And also, of course, currently AI is closing the door for the entry level for juniors. Therefore, this is the new type of outside challenge to the new generation as well. So maybe pushing some of them becoming the powerful, the thinker to shaping their future themselves. So yeah, I believe you will have choice.
Okay. So I just wanted to ask a question about the LLM you're fine tuning with the Hong Kong building codes. Have you any idea how long that's going to take? How successful has it been to this point? How much work has it involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're at the very beginning of it. We had the idea last month only, so we're at the very beginning of it. But perhaps Dr. Casoni can answer more on that.
I think that's interesting that you're going to be the collection piece, so that's a bit.
I think the strategy actually lying on how we design the assessment matrix.
I think, well, Dr. Casoni and his, well, we had a conversation about how much time it's going to take. It will actually be it can be up to just a day to actually fine tune it, but the time, actually more time is going to be spent on, putting up the evaluation matrix.
Sure, the training
Yeah, the training is super quick, yeah.
together, checking and testing, like the whole process. How long do you think it'll work, and how?
Yeah. We're estimating 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
Yeah, we're thinking that probably 1 month on fine tuning it, and then the rest of the time evaluating it, putting up the matrix, and then writing the paper.
And just finding lots of modeling information.
Q1.
Right.
Any more questions?
So more practical. So I can see the use cases that you guys have put up. Have you seen or observed any uptake in terms of applying AI to project management and also vendor management?
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for a practical question. We can also categorize the solutions that we come across and have customized in 3 levels. The first level is the low level, which is the documents, all the kinds of documents, tender bidding, tender review. And so that is anything that has to do with text, it can be easily done. Anything that needs a template, easily done. So that's the low level. The middle level is like generating a 3D model, like one of our demos. The higher level is what we call policy level, or a super decision maker level. Like, so for example, in one use case, this is for the Shanghai government, where historical data, real-time data is fed into the model, and then if it's then able to tell the government how to balance the taxes online. Yeah, so that is a decision making model, because it allows for the user to then make a high level decision. So when you talk about project management, I think it will be in the more like between the low level, if it's about PDFs, etc. Yeah, but if it's about decision making, then it's the high level. Do you have anything to say?
First of all, I feel project management actually contains many scenarios. And I believe the document intelligence can apply to some of the scenarios. And right now, when we are speaking to our clients discussing where we can help, we always detail enough to specific scenarios. And one specific thing that we have received recently from one client about project management is trying to set up a system to eliminate or to remind their employees about all the deadlines or about the sequence of completing the things, of completing the guidance and monitoring of the stakeholders. So this system is more like eliminating the human errors because of forgetting the deadlines or forgetting the sequence or back and forth and etc. So yeah, indeed AI can help with that in eliminating the human error aspect.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call.
And we have standing Zoom here for her and have to take a picture.